Greetings and salutations to all our listeners. Welcome to Chained Opinion Podcast.
Welcome, everybody.
Today we're going to do a special exploration.
A deep dive.
Yeah, into a development that's really kind of shaking up the world of international trade.
Yeah, a new wave of tariffs are making headlines.
Making headlines and sparking some strong reactions across the globe.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to get into it.
Let's get into it.
President Trump is imposing these new tariffs on goods coming from Canada, Mexico, and China. He's citing concerns about illegal immigration, drug trafficking,
Yes.
especially fentanyl,
A big problem.
and national security threats.
A lot on the line here.
So get ready for some fascinating details and some very heated reactions.
Oh, yeah.
This is a story you won't want to miss.
For sure.
So what makes this situation so compelling, I think, is that it really exposes this
Like an intricate web.
like an intricate web
Yeah.
of national security concerns, economic interests, and global politics, all kind of playing out on this world stage.
That's right. And it's all happening right now.
So let's break it down a little bit.
Okay.
The Trump administration is really kind of highlighting the urgency of the situation at the border and the very real threat posed by fentanyl.
Yeah. And they're pointing to this chilling statistic.
Yeah.
More Americans are dying from fentanyl overdoses annually than were lost in the entire Vietnam War.
Whoa.
Powerful statement.
It's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful statement.
It really is.
And, you know, it's important to remember that this isn't President Trump's first time using tariffs as a lever to try to achieve his policy goals.
Right.
We saw this strategy in action with Colombia just last week, where tariffs were ultimately lifted after successful negotiations on national security issues.
So it seems like there's,
So it seems like a pattern.
yeah, like a deliberate approach.
A deliberate approach to trade that prioritizes American interests,
Yeah,
even if it creates some friction with other countries.
for sure.
Now, these new tariffs aren't a one-size-fits-all situation.
Okay.
The rates vary depending on the country.
Right.
Canada and Mexico are facing a 25% tariff on most imports,
Okay.
except for Canadian energy resources, which have a 10% tariff.
Interesting.
China's looking at a 10% tariff on their goods.
Okay, so to really grasp the impact of this,
Yeah.
you have to consider the massive U.S. trade deficit.
Trillion.
Over $1 trillion this year.
That's huge.
Huge. And so this administration is making a clear attempt to rebalance global trade.
Yeah.
Although whether this approach will work in the long run,
Who knows?
that's the question.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's not just about the numbers, though.
Right.
Like, imagine the ripple effect of $1 trillion trade deficit
Oh, yeah.
on your life, from the prices you pay at the store
Exactly.
to the stability of certain industries and jobs.
For sure.
This situation has the potential to hit close to home for all of us.
Absolutely.
It really did.
And what's more interesting is how this ties into the bigger picture. Yeah.
This administration is framing this as a national emergency,
Right.
arguing that the influx of fentanyl, allegedly facilitated by Mexico, demands a strong response.
Right.
Raises a crucial question about the limits of using trade policy to address complex challenges that involve
Public health.
public health and security.
Yeah.
Big issues.
Big issues.
Yeah.
Now, Canada and Mexico haven't just stood by passively.
Oh, no.
They've hit back with some swift and strategic countermeasures.
Interesting.
The North American economy is so interconnected
Incredibly so.
that this trade war has the potential to be particularly disruptive.
Right.
Think about this. Canada is the top export market for 36 states,
Whoa.
and Mexico is the U.S.'s largest trading partner overall.
Wow.
The economic consequences could be far-reaching for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
Canada has come out swinging, right?
Yeah, they have.
They've slapped a 25% tariff on a whole range of American products,
Really?
from beverages to cosmetics to paper goods.
Wow.
And they're not stopping there. No.
Several Canadian provinces are pulling American liquor brands from government-run stores,
Interesting.
and social media is flooded with these campaigns, urging Canadians to buy local Suns.
It's a smart move.
It's a very smart move.
It targets key U.S. industries while simultaneously fostering this sense of national unity and economic independence among Canadians.
Yeah.
It's a classic example of how trade disputes can quickly spill over from economics into the cultural and social fabric of a nation.
Absolutely. And you know the reaction from everyday Canadians.
Yeah, what's that been like?
Let's just say things have gotten a bit frosty.
Okay.
Imagine yourself at a hockey game.
I can imagine it.
A symbol of national pride in Canada.
Yeah.
And the American national anthem is met with boos.
Whoa.
That's how deeply these tariffs have cut.
Wow.
There's a sense of betrayal in the air.
I bet.
And Canadian politicians are making these defiant statements, drawing a line in the sand against what they see as American bullying.
Yeah. Wow. So it's a stark reminder that trade wars can escalate into broader tensions, impacting public sentiment and potentially causing lasting damage to diplomatic relationships.
For sure.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, south of the border, the Mexican response has been a bit more nuanced.
Okay.
A careful balancing act between cooperation and resistance to U.S. pressure.
Right. The Mexican president has called for a joint working group to address these security and public health concerns, which suggests a willingness to work with the U.S. However, they are simultaneously making it clear that Mexico will not be treated as subservient to the U.S. and are directly criticizing America's own struggles with drugs and guns. It's a delicate dance between trying to find common ground and fiercely protecting Mexican sovereignty and interests.
Yeah.
It's a tough spot.
Tough spot to be in, for sure. For sure. What's particularly intriguing is how this situation challenges our traditional understanding of free trade and globalization.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're constantly hearing about how this interconnectedness and economic interdependence are supposed to create peace and stability.
Right.
But this trade war seems to be turning that idea on its head.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you say?
The swift and forceful retaliation from Canada and Mexico demonstrates that even close allies are prepared to defend their interests fiercely when they feel threatened. And this suggests that economic interdependence can actually be a source of vulnerability, as well as leverage in international relations.
It's almost like a
double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's almost like watching this high-stakes game of chess with each side making these calculated moves to outmaneuver the other.
Exactly.
And the potential consequences are enormous.
Oh, yeah.
We could see disruptions in supply chains, price hikes for consumers,
Definitely.
and ultimately damage to economic growth on all sides.
It really raises the question, can any of the parties involved truly win in this scenario? Or are we heading towards a stalemate that leaves everyone worse off?
It's a nail-biter, that's for sure. But let's go back to Canada for a moment.
All right.
We talked about Canadians booing the American national anthem at hockey games.
Right.
It really underscores the depth of emotion this trade war has stirred up among our northern neighbors.
Yeah, what's striking about that reaction is the sense of betrayal it reveals.
Right.
Canada has long viewed itself as a close friend and ally of the United States, bound by deep historical, cultural, and economic ties.
Right.
These tariffs, seemingly imposed out of nowhere, have shaken that perception to its core.
Yeah.
Many Canadians feel like they've been taken advantage of by a partner they thought they could trust.
And it's not just about the economics.
No, it's not.
These tariffs have tapped into this wellspring of national pride and this fierce determination to assert Canadian sovereignty in the face of what they see as American aggression.
Yeah, this reflects a broader global trend.
What's that?
This rising tide of nationalism and a questioning of traditional alliances and power structures in a world that feels increasingly uncertain.
Right.
Countries are prioritizing their own interests and protecting their own citizens, even if it means going toe-to-toe with long-standing partners.
It's almost as if we're witnessing this realignment of global power dynamics with economic leverage becoming a key weapon in this new era of strategic competition.
Precisely. And this trade war serves as a stark reminder that economic interdependence doesn't automatically lead to harmonious cooperation.
Right.
It can also create friction, breed resentment, and ultimately fuel conflict.
Now let's turn our attention south to Mexico.
Okay.
Where the reaction has been more measured but no less significant.
Right. The Mexican president's response has been a fascinating blend of pragmatism and defiance. On the one hand, he's expressed a willingness to work with the U.S. To find solutions to shared challenges like drug trafficking and border security.
But on the other hand,
he's made it crystal clear that Mexico will not be bullied.
No.
Or dictated to by its powerful neighbor to the north.
Right.
It's a delicate balancing act.
It is.
Navigating between cooperation and resistance.
Yeah. And that dynamic is likely to become even more complex as this trade war plays out.
Oh, I think so.
The Mexican government is acutely aware of the economic risks involved, but they're also determined to protect Mexican sovereignty.
Right.
and uphold the dignity of their people.
And we can't forget that the Mexican people themselves are on the front lines of this trade war, facing the potential for job losses, rising prices, and economic uncertainty.
And their reactions
Run the gamut, from apprehension and anxiety to stoicism and resilience, reflecting the diverse experiences and perspectives within Mexican society. Some fear the worst, while others hold on to the hope that Mexico will weather this storm, as it has weathered so many others throughout its history.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that these trade wars aren't just some abstract economic battle fought in the halls of power.
Right.
They have real human consequences, impacting the lives and livelihoods of everyday people in profound ways.
Absolutely. And the ripple effects go way beyond economics.
Oh, yeah.
These tariffs have the power to reshape political alliances, fuel social unrest, and even undermine the foundation of international cooperation.
So as we try to navigate these turbulent trade waters, what can we take away from all this? What are the key insights for our listeners?
Well, I think what's become crystal clear is that the era of unchecked globalization and blind faith in free trade agreements is over.
Yeah.
We're entering a new phase of global economic competition where national interests are front and center and traditional alliances are being put to the test.
It's a wake-up call reminding us that economic power is a potent weapon, and countries are increasingly willing to wield it to get what they want, even if it means disrupting the status quo and ruffling some feathers.
This shift has major implications for businesses, policymakers, and ordinary citizens alike.
Yeah.
We need to adapt to this new reality, to figure out how to mitigate the risks and find ways to cooperate even as competition heats up.
Yeah, we've heard about the anger and frustration in Canada, the stoic determination in Mexico, and the anxieties of those whose livelihoods are directly affected by these tariffs.
Right.
What does all of this tell us about the wider social and political consequences of trade wars?
It underscores the fact that economic decisions made at the highest levels of government have real-world consequences for everyday people.
Right.
Trade wars can fracture communities, erode trust, and fuel resentment, creating ripple effects that extend far beyond the realm of economics.
It's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
And it highlights the need for leaders to think carefully about the full range of impacts before they engage in these tit-for-tat tariff battles.
It emphasizes the importance of finding ways to address legitimate concerns about trade imbalances and unfair practices without resorting to measures that ultimately harm everyone involved.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
What does the future hold for global trade and international relations in this new era of economic competition?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's hard to answer with any certainty.
Yeah.
But one thing is for sure. We're at a crossroads.
Okay.
We can choose a path of escalating confrontation, where economic warfare becomes the norm and global cooperation crumbles.
Yeah.
Or we can find ways to engage in constructive dialogue, rebuild trust, and create a new model of international economic engagement that benefits all parties.
It's a choice that will shape the world for generations to come.
Absolutely.
And it deserves our full attention and careful consideration.
I completely agree.
Well, as we wrap up our examination of this trade war, I'll leave you with this thought-provoking question.
Okay, sure.
In a world where economic power is increasingly being used as a weapon, what role can diplomacy, cooperation, and a shared commitment to global well-being play in shaping a more stable and prosperous future?
It's definitely a question worth pondering.
It is. And on that note, we come to the end of this insightful journey on Chained Opinion Podcast.
It's been a pleasure.
Don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with your friends and colleagues.
Tell everybody.
You can find us on all your favorite audio podcast platforms, including YouTube Music and Spotify.
Yeah, check us out.
Till next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.